Hello, hello, hello. Happy Thursday. So I have a new little friend over here. Did you see? Does anyone recognize this girl? Maybe from a new angle. So, there's a YouTube channel that I really, really like. And it's one of these funny little things. It's a YouTube channel that it's like a radio station. And it plays this kind of music that is called lo-fi hip hop. Lo-fi hip hop. And it's really simple music. It has like slow beats and some jazz music. And it's really relaxing. It's amazing music to study to or to work with because it's a steady beat. There's no singing. It's not distracting. It helps you focus. And on the channel I like, there's always this little girl doing her homework. And so the channel had a limited edition run of these figures, so I just had to pick one up. I've been listening to this channel, this radio station, for a long time, and it's awesome. So you should check it out. Okay, enough of my studying, but I think for you guys, if you're studying or working, trying to focus on something, this style of music is really good. It's called lo-fi hip hop, L-O-F-I. Lo-fi means low fidelity, meaning that some of the sounds sound a little bit scratchy, and it's for style. It's supposed to be like that. So I really like lo-fi hip hop as a good way to stay focused and get down to work. Okay? So, welcome today. Today we're looking at Lesson 6, Conversation 2. Lesson 6 is you're looking for a new apartment, right? And then you find one that looks pretty good, and your friend Bob decides to go with you to check it out. And the landlord takes you on a tour of the apartment. And while you're there, the landlord says, "Hey, look around, the best part's the view." And you open the window, and oh, there's an old man, woohoo, who waves to you, and his shirt is off. Oh my gosh. So last week we saw a very positive personality that says, oh wow, the neighbors are so friendly. The people around here are really friendly. But this time, this week, we see a negative personality, someone who's really too emotional, a little bit crazy. You could say someone who's hot-headed. So someone who gets frustrated quickly with a bad temper. And so if you have a bad temper and you're emotional, you don't handle things well, how would you react to the situation? You might say, oh, my eyes, oh gosh. Maybe the old man, he's not wearing a shirt and it's too shiny. The light is bouncing off his chest. Oh, my eyes. So we have our negative personality. And then the landlord is like, ooh, sorry. And then moves on and tries to introduce the apartment to you. And he tries to save this situation. But you're not in a good mood. You're not feeling great. And so you're, I don't like this. I don't like that. I don't like that. So all of these parts of the apartment, even though the landlord says, oh, this is a nice feature, this is a nice thing about the apartment, you say, no, 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 there's a problem with that. So you're being negative about everything. Our last conversation, you were too positive, right? There's a hole in the wall and you say, wow, there's great airflow. And then you see a rat with a cockroach on the back riding across the room. Oh my gosh, the room is full of life. You felt too positive last time, but this time you're too negative. Everything's a disaster. So what were some of the things? Wow, the room is so spacious. Oh, that's terrible. There's too much space. I need to fill it with all my stuff. I need to buy too many things. Oh, okay. Well, it's nice and sunny in here. Oh, geez, the sun. Maybe you feel like a vampire. You want to stay away from the sun. It's too bright. You'll burn your skin. Oh, you need some more sunscreen, right? So through this dialogue and complaining about this apartment, you got to learn a few different ideas. So we learned our different ideas in the grammar sections where we learned about by the time, by then. And then we learned about in time and on time. And then we learned about finally and in the end and at last and eventually and ultimately. Okay? And then we finished up with our dialogue where you're going crazy. And then you go up, look at the loft, and whoa, you almost fall down. Oh my gosh. But luckily, you swing like a monkey and you survived. You're okay. So let's get into our homework. We're starting with Lesson 6, Conversation 2, Part 2. Now, the focus of this section is using the word by and by the time and by then. Now, this is a little bit tricky because by means at the latest. That's the last time. So it's very similar to before, but it means getting really, really close to the time, maybe right on that time, but not later than, okay? So you want to be before it if you can, but the last chance would be right at that time. If you're late by a second, someone's not going to be happy, right? So by means before it and getting really close to that time. Think of that time as a limit, okay? So let's get into our homework. Just get started and go, 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 okay? I know some of you are night owls, but some of you might not be. So maybe people want to go to bed. So let's get to it. Our first sentence is, 你可以追我明早8点交稿吗? So this could be many different things. 交稿 in Chinese. In English, there could be many different words that you use for this idea, depending on the situation. Are you at work? Are you doing things for school? There are many different ways. So let's take a look. My sentence, I wrote, can you give me the report by 8 o'clock tomorrow morning? You could also say, can you give me the report by 8 a.m. tomorrow? So this is asking someone a question. I used can. Of course, you could be more polite and say could. Could you give me the report? What are some other ways we learn to be polite? Do you remember? Can you? Could you? Then we learned do you mind? So do you mind giving me the report? And if you want to be super polite, you could say would you mind giving me the report? But let's say this is your boss or your teacher. Do they need to be super polite? No. So you can say, can you give me the report by 8 o'clock tomorrow morning? Okay? So you got to think about who is speaking and how polite do they need to be. And this is probably your boss or your teacher. They don't need to be super polite because they're in charge, right? Okay. And so for the verb I used here, I kept it simple. Can you give me the report? And yeah, that's totally fine. Can you give me the report? This is general. So anyone might ask you, give them something. It could be a teacher or a boss or whoever. Can you give me something? And some of you use the phrase hand in. Hand in meaning I hand it to you. I pass it in. And that can be used for either situation. It could be work or school. I think it's a little bit more common for school. You hand in something for school, but you could use it for both situations. Same with the words turn in the report. That would also be the same as hand in. You give it to the person in charge. And like I said before, it's sounds a little bit more like it's for school. You could use it for work, but it might be more common in a school setting. So give me the report, hand in your report, or turn in the report, okay? Now, I also saw someone use the phrase hand over. So hand in means to turn in or give me something. But hand over, it sounds a little more forceful, like you must give it to me and you're in big trouble. So hand over might be what the police say to you. So you're driving too fast, and the police say, hand over your license. You can't drive anymore, okay? Or maybe a child is playing with a toy, like me, and your mom says, hand over that toy. It sounds like you have to give it to them because you're in trouble, and they don't want you to have it. So for our sentence, I think hand in would be better, okay? And like I said before, I said, give me the report. But this word, 交稿, you could say lots of different words. You could say, give me your work, or hand in your work. And if it's a paper, like for school, you could say, give me your paper, or hand in your paper, okay? And you could use report, like I said. And then there were some other ones, or another general one, you could say, give me the document. But document is very vague. We don't know what you're talking about. Just any piece of paper is a document, okay? And then some of you used other words, but those are a little more specific. A few people use the word draft. A draft means you write one copy of a paper. So like the first draft means the first time you try writing it, and you give it to the teacher fixes it and gives it back. That's one draft. So a draft means like one of the times you write something, okay? And then I saw the word manuscript. Manuscript is a rather formal word, and a manuscript is it's pretty formal, and usually means like it's like a draft for a story. Often it's a very formal word for a long written thing, and it sounds like it could be a written draft for a book or something like that. Some big thing, a manuscript. Boom, put it on the desk, and it's heavy, okay? And then I also saw a student use the word script. Now, a script is a written thing, but it is usually the plan for what people will say. So that could be a script for a TV show or a script for a movie. It's dialogue, people talking to each other. So a script is usually like a plan of what will happen on a stage, in a movie, or on a TV show, okay? Or radio show too, okay? And so back to the basics, to keep it in general, you could say, hand in your work, hand in your paper, hand in your report, hand in the document, something like that. The other ones are a little more specific and would have to fit the situation. Is it about a writer? Is it about a student? Is it about something else? Okay? So those were the big things about that one. Our second sentence, 在遇到下一个对象前，我想变成更好的人. So here, this is what you want to do, right? And so I would write this as, I want to become a better person by the time I meet my next partner. Okay? And here, partner means romantic partner. So a lot of people, the trend, the way things are happening, is that more and more people are using the word partner to mean boyfriend or girlfriend. It's more of a general term that doesn't put labels on something. My partner. So, and if you hear the word partner, it often means romantic partner, okay? So, I want to become a better person by the time I meet my next partner. You could also say my next boyfriend or my next girlfriend, depending on who you're looking for, okay? So, first up, I said, I want to become a better person. And so, become just means you change and become that thing. So, you change yourself, okay? So, become is what I would use for this. You could also use the word be. A lot of students use, I want to be a better person by the time I meet my next partner. And that's fine. Be and become here are basically the same. Become is focusing on the change. And then be is focusing on I mean what you are, right? So become is focused on changing, and then be means like you just want to be that thing, okay? It's not as focused on the change part, okay? And by the time means before that happens. Like, so meeting my next partner is the limit, and so by that time, I want to become a better person, okay? And so you could say a better person, a better man, a better woman, up to you, okay? And by the time I meet my next partner, the partner, you could say boyfriend, girlfriend, significant other. And I saw a couple students use the word date before I meet my next date. That would be okay, but a date sounds less serious. Maybe the person you're going on a date with. And so usually you go on dates before you meet your next partner. So it depends how serious or what your plan is. Do you want to become a better person before you go on another date? Or do you want to become a better person before you get in a serious relationship? Depends on what you're trying to say, right? Like we've said before, all of these sentences have many ways to write them, okay? So no big issues with that sentence. So let's move on to the next one. 女朋友叫我等她下班吃晚餐，在那之前，我已经吃了2颗茶叶蛋，一碗泡面。Oh my gosh, that's a lot, right? So your girlfriend's not going to be happy, right? So in English, I would write this as, my girlfriend told me to wait for her to get off work before eating dinner. By then, I had eaten 2 tea eggs and a bowl of instant noodles. Okay? Now, another way to say it, that's kind of like a direct way to say it. You could also say, my girlfriend asked me to have dinner with her after she got off work. Okay? And then the second part is the same. By then, blah, 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 blah. And so the way we can think of it is, she told me something. She told me to do something. Now, some of this is stuff that we're going to be learning and practicing in lesson 7. So this told me to wait is, we're going to learn more about that and practice more in lesson 7, okay? So my girlfriend told me to wait for her to get off work before eating dinner. So we tell someone to do something. She told me to wait. The first way I write it is, she told me to wait for her. And so the focus is on the waiting, okay? So she told me to wait for her to get off work before eating dinner, right? So the focus is on wait for her to get off work before eating dinner. And then you could flip it around and change the focus to dinner. My girlfriend asked me to have dinner with her after she got off work. So depends, both ways are okay. Just put the thing you're more focused on first, okay? And using a word like before and after helps with this kind of sentence. It kind of helps the logic. In Chinese, you can just go like piece by piece, like one idea to the next. But with English, we want to use connecting words to make it a little bit easier to understand what's going on, okay? Told me to wait for her to get off work before eating dinner, okay? Or she asked me to have dinner with her after she got off work, like piece by piece, okay? And so you could say, she told me to wait for her, or she asked me to have dinner with her. Both are okay. And also, one thing that I noticed, a lot of students wrote wait her. So in Chinese, you'd say 等她, but in English, we need the word for. You wait for something or wait for someone. Usually when you use the word wait and there's a thing you're waiting for, you need the word for. Wait for her. Wait for 12 o'clock, or wait for the bell to ring, or something like that. You wait for something, okay? So yeah, so you could say before eating dinner, or maybe have dinner with her, or have dinner together. Now, a few students wrote something similar to this. She told me to wait for her to have dinner. Now, if you say wait for her to have dinner, you're connecting wait for her to have dinner. It sounds like I am waiting for her to eat, and then I'll go meet her. So if you have to have dinner just connected to her, wait for her to have dinner. That sounds like I'm waiting for her to eat, but I'm not going to eat with her, okay? So you need to add a word like before or after to separate it, or maybe say like, we will have dinner together, something like that. You need to have words that show that you and her will have dinner together, okay? And then wait for her to get off work. So I saw a few students just say wait for her off work. But if we're using this as an action, what happened, we use the phrase get off work. So you might say, oh, today I got off work at 7 p.m. or something like that, okay? And then the second part is, by then, I had eaten 2 tea eggs and a bowl of instant noodles. So here we're using the past perfect tense. And this is tricky. We learned this before, but it's tricky. And we use past perfect tense because one thing happened, and then one thing happened before that. The thing before it is in past perfect. She told me something. What was before that? I had eaten blah, 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 blah. Okay? So we can use the past perfect like this to talk about two things that were in the past. In the thing before the other, use had eaten, okay? That's tricky. It takes a lot of practice, but when you're telling stories, using the past perfect makes it clear which happened first, okay? By then, I had eaten 2 tea eggs and a bowl of instant noodles, okay? So instant noodles, we've talked about this before. You can call them instant noodles. You could also call them ramen or instant ramen. Now, the word ramen means la mian. But in America, when we see the package of instant noodles, a lot of the instant noodles say ramen on it. So when people in America say the word ramen, sometimes they mean instant noodles, okay? And how do you eat instant noodles? Do you eat one instant noodle? If you wrote one instant noodle, you mean one noodle. One noodle. I don't think you eat one noodle, right? You eat a bowl of noodles. So you need a measuring word for noodles, okay? So one bowl of noodles. And then in America, instant noodles are sold in little cups. So one student wrote a cup, 1 cup of noodles. And that would be okay if it's a cup of noodles. A cup is smaller than a bowl, okay? So that would be okay. A bowl of noodles or 1 cup of instant noodles. Okay, so our last sentence for section 2 is 捷运末班车12点开，到那时候月台上已经没有什么人。Okay, hopefully I read that right. So, in English, I would say the last MRT leaves at midnight. By then, the platform will already be empty. So, notice how I write the second sentence. Another way to write the second sentence, you could say, by then, there will be almost no one on the platform. That's okay too, but I like the first one better. The platform will already be empty. So it's taking the idea from the Chinese sentence, but kind of flipping it around. So the Chinese sentence says, there will be almost no one on the platform. But when speaking English, I would flip it around and say the platform will already be empty or will be almost empty, something like that. Okay? So the beginning part, I said the last MRT leaves at midnight. When we're in Taiwan talking about the MRT, the whole system is called the MRT, but you can also call one train one MRT, okay? The MRT left, okay? You can also say the MRT train. That would be fine too. But a lot of times people will shorten it and just say the MRT. Oh, the last MRT leaves at midnight, okay? And because it's a train leaves the station. So the last MRT leaves at midnight. You could also say it runs at midnight. So leaves means it goes away. Runs means it moves. So you can use the word run for a machine. The machine runs at midnight, meaning it goes. Okay? I also saw someone use the word start. The last MRT starts at midnight. Now, I would not use start for this. Usually, for a train, we say the train leaves, like it goes away, leaves the station. You could say something like it starts to move at midnight, but that's getting more complicated. Usually we use the word start, meaning the very first train. Maybe the MRT starts at 6 in the morning. So that would mean the first train is at 6 in the morning, okay? So I would prefer the word leaves. You could also use the word runs. The last MRT leaves at midnight. And now, why did I use the word midnight? I think we've talked about this before. If you mean 12:00, so 12 o'clock on the nose, exactly 12 o'clock, you can say midnight. And when you use the word midnight, people will know you mean 12:00, 1200. So 12 o'clock in 0 minutes. So the last MRT leaves at midnight. Of course, you don't have to say midnight. You could say the last train leaves at 12 o'clock. Or you could say 12 o'clock sharp if you want to say exactly at midnight. Okay? And the second part, the platform will already be empty. If we want the platform to be the subject, a lot of sentences in English, we want the thing to be the subject. The platform will what? The platform will already be empty. We want to describe the platform, okay? You could also say, there will be almost no one on the platform. Start with the word there to talk about the situation. There will be almost no one. And where? On the platform. That works too, but it's a little bit better if you start with the platform as the subject. The platform will already be empty, okay? Well, maybe not better, but I think it feels a little bit better. So there are a few different ways to say this. The platform will be empty. Most people will have already left. You could say that. Or there will be almost no one. You could also say there will be few people. Few people meaning a very small number. Few people means a very small number. If you say a few people, you're focusing on that they are there. So saying few people, you're focusing on that it's a small amount. But if you say a few people, you're showing that it means there are some, okay? Maybe we can go into that more in another lesson. Little versus a little, few versus a few. That's tricky, okay? And then I use the word will. By then, the platform will already be empty. It depends when you're talking about. I'm saying the last MRT leaves at midnight. Maybe we're going to the MRT station. By then, the platform will already be empty. So we're talking about tonight in the future. Now, you could also use present. Some students use is. By then, the platform is already empty. And by using is, we're talking about the truth. Again and again, every day it's like that. So both are okay. You could use will be or is, depending on what you're focusing on. Okay? So let's keep on moving. So let's move on to Lesson 6, Conversation 2, Part 3. Mixing myself up with all these numbers. 6, 2, 3. Woo. Okay. Our first sentence is 珍妮本来要摔倒，还好 Bob 及时扶住她。Gotcha. So Bob saved Jenny. So I would write this as Jenny almost fell down. Luckily, Bob caught her just in time. Oh, Bob, what a savior. He's a great guy, and maybe this will lead to some romance. Ooh. So, Jenny almost fell down. She was really close to falling down. So you could say she almost fell down, meaning she got really close to it happening. You could also say Jenny was going to fall down. This is the future tense in the past. Oh, that's confusing, right? So we're thinking about in the past, what was the future? Jenny was going to fall down, but it didn't happen, right? Something changed. Well, what changed? Luckily, Bob caught her just in time. To catch someone or catch something means something is falling or flying and you grab it, you catch it. So here, caught her is the best word for this. He caught her. If someone's falling, you catch them, okay? Just like, imagine the person is a baseball and you whoosh, catch that person as they're falling, okay? So, okay, Jenny almost fell down. We talked about that. Well, here we want fell down. To fall down means maybe she tripped and woo, boom. I saw a few people use fell off. We want fell down, meaning fell down to the ground, okay? Fell off means she's on something and fell off of it. That could be true, but usually you'd add what she fell off of. Maybe Jenny fell off of her chair, or Jenny fell off of, I don't know, the building. So if she's on top of the building, she fell off the building, and then Bob caught her, that makes it even more amazing. Jesus. But it's probably not that crazy. She was probably walking and fell down, right? Jenny almost fell down, and Bob caught her just in time. Now, if something is good luck and save the day, we want to use the word luckily. Luckily, Bob caught her. And so it's lucky. It's a good thing, right? You could also use the word fortunately. Fortunately, Bob caught her. Fortunately is a little more formal. Luckily is a bit more common. But they're the same meaning. Luck and fortune are basically the same thing. Okay? And then Bob caught her just in time, meaning that he was at the perfect moment and right before she hit the ground. So just in time means the last chance. So he saved her. Okay? I saw a few people use the words right on time. Bob caught her right on time. Now, this doesn't work exactly because right on time usually means there's a schedule or an expected time. Like, oh, I want you to be at the party at 8 o'clock, and you're right on time. Okay? But if something that happens right before something, like you save someone, just in time is better. It sounds like with just in time, it means like right before it was too late. Okay? Okay. Next up, 请准时到达餐厅，不然我们会取消你的定位. Oh, yeah, you gotta be on time, right? So please arrive at the restaurant on time. If not, we will cancel your reservation. Okay? So please arrive at the restaurant on time. If not, we will cancel your reservation. Instead of using if not, you could use other words too. Please arrive at the restaurant on time. Otherwise, we will cancel your reservation. Otherwise is a word that we will learn in future lessons. So don't worry about that. And another way to say otherwise would be or else. So maybe there's a consequence if you don't do something. Otherwise and or else we will learn in the future. But for now, you can just use if not. Or you could use the word or. Please arrive at the restaurant on time. Or we will cancel your reservation. So using or else, or otherwise, we'll cover those in the future. But for now, let's use if not, which we learned before, okay? And so, please arrive at the restaurant on time. So you can think of the time is here and you're on that time. You're on time. You hit it right, okay? You're not late. You're not really early. You're on time, okay? And remember, in time is like there's a space between now and then, so it's in time. Okay, you can think of it that way. Okay, so arrive at the restaurant on time. So you could also use the verb come to. Please come to the restaurant. Okay, come to somewhere, arrive at somewhere. And saw a few people say arrive our restaurant, but you need the word at. You arrive at somewhere. Arrive at our restaurant. Oh, the word at by itself sounds pretty bad. A-T. Like we've talked about before, that T is like a real hard stop. At. Arrive at our restaurant. And then if not, and then we will cancel your reservation is not an easy word either. We will cancel your reservation. So in the future, if this happens, what will happen in the future? We will cancel your reservation. And if you take we will, squish it together, we will sounds like will. Will cancel your reservation. But remember, will cancel your reservation is W-E''LL. It's not W-I-L-L. You need we will. But put together, it sounds like will. Okay? That's tricky. Next is maybe you hurt your knee. You were riding a bicycle and whoa, boom, you hurt your knee. And the doctor tells you this. 在接下来1个月内，请不要做剧烈运动. Right? So the doctor wants you to be careful. Don't hurt yourself anymore. Don't go meet Bruno at the gym. Bruno will make you do crazy stuff. So don't do that. Tell Bruno you need a break for the next month, right? So you can say, please don't do any strenuous exercise within the next month. Okay. A lot of you did a great job. The word strenuous exercise is not very common, but a lot of you got that right. That's great. You could also say, instead of saying don't do, you could say avoid. Please avoid any vigorous exercise for the next month. So strenuous exercise means you're working really hard. Vigorous exercise sounds like you're working really fast. Wow. Okay? And if you hurt yourself, don't do any of it. Okay? So the best words for this are strenuous exercise, vigorous exercise. Okay? These are really advanced words, so don't worry too much about it. But if a doctor is talking to you about exercise, they'll use the word strenuous or vigorous. A few of you use the words hard or severe. Don't do any severe exercise or any hard exercise. You could say hard exercise, but it's not super common. And then severe exercise. Severe usually sounds negative, so we don't want to use severe with exercise. Severe exercise sounds like it's dangerous and you're gonna hurt yourself whether or not the doctor wants you to be careful. Maybe severe exercise would be like, I don't know, something really dangerous. So strenuous, vigorous, hard is okay, but the other ones are better. Okay? And so you could say don't do any or avoid any. But remember, it should be don't do any strenuous exercise. I saw a few people say don't any strenuous exercise, but we need don't do any. Okay? And then no big issues with that. People did really great getting the word strenuous. Strenuous. It's a hard word. Strenuous exercise. This word strenuous, we don't really use it for many other situations. It's mostly just used for exercising really, really, really hard. Okay? So, next up. Oh, I have a question from the sentence before. So rewind. Please arrive at the restaurant on time. If not, we will cancel your reservation. And the question is, can we use booking instead of reservation? Yes, you can. So a booking and a reservation are very similar. They're basically the same. Reservation means you reserve something, and booking means you book something. Like, it's basically the same. To book something means they write your name in a book, while reserve something means they save it for you. And basically, it means the same thing. So we will cancel your reservation, we'll cancel your booking. However, because we're talking about a restaurant, you could use the word booking, but for restaurants, the word reservation is more common. Because usually we'll say, you could say book a table, but reserve a table is a little bit better. And so the restaurant will use the word reservation more often than the word booking. Okay? So for me, I might book a table or reserve a table, but if the restaurant is calling me, they'll probably say your reservation. And the word booking is more common for like a hotel or for a trip. Okay? Your hotel booking, or your like if you're riding a boat, the tickets, that's your booking. So for a restaurant, reservation is common. For other things, you can use the word booking. Okay, so good question. Both are okay, but for restaurant, reservation is a little more common. Okay, good question. Thank you. Now, back to the future. Move forward. So this is Lesson 6, Conversation 2, Part 3, the final sentence. OK， 在你犹豫不决的那段时间里，已经错过机会了。Oh my gosh, too bad. So this is a good chance to use the phrase within the time. Within the time it took you to hesitate. You already missed your chance. So hesitating is really a short time. So missing your chance, it was a really quick thing, right? So within the time it took you to hesitate. Hesitate meaning you're thinking about, I'm not sure I want to do it. You already missed your chance. Okay. So I use within the time it took you to do something. So the time to do something and in that time. Okay? And to hesitate is really quick. So that time that it is really, really quick too. Okay? You could also use other phrases. You could say within the time you were wasting, or within the time you were wasting. Like if you were wasting time thinking about something. Within the time you wasted hesitating, you already missed your chance. So you can mix other phrases together, okay? But I think the word hesitate is good here because it sounds like you had an opportunity, but you thought about it, and in that time, you missed the chance already. It was really a quick opportunity. If you do stocks, it goes up and down, the money goes up and down. and maybe you're thinking about it, and oops, it's too late. You already missed your chance to make some money. Okay? Now, a few people use some other words instead of hesitate. Hesitate means you're waiting and thinking about something. I saw a few people use the word waver. Now, waver is a little bit different than hesitate. Hesitate means you're waiting and thinking. Waver means there might be a choice. There are two things you're trying to choose. Waver means you're like waving from one idea to the next. Maybe I'll choose this, maybe I'll choose that, maybe I'll choose this, maybe I'll choose that. So wavering sounds like there's a choice. So it's a little bit different. Hesitate is waiting and thinking for a long time, or thinking for a time. Wavering is trying to decide, okay? And same like being on the fence. If there's a fence and you're on the fence, that means there's a choice over here and a choice over here. You're on the fence. You can't decide. You can't choose one or the other, okay? So the meaning is a little bit different. So within the time, you were on the fence. So you were having trouble deciding. So hesitate is focusing on the timing. Wavering or on the fence focuses on the fact that there was a choice there, okay? And then the last part was you already missed your chance, okay? You missed your chance, meaning too late, sorry. You could also say you lost your opportunity. That's a little more formal, but that works too. You could also say you missed your opportunity. But the most common in spoken English would be you missed your chance. So, oh, too bad. So we're going to see this later. 错过 is, in Chinese, the phrase 错过 is often like missing a chance or missing your chance, something like that, okay? Chance meaning like your opportunity, the chance to do something, and you don't get it, okay? So let's keep on moving. Lesson 6, Conversation 2, Part 4. This one is talking about waiting for things, right? We're waiting for things to happen. So if we use words like in the end, or eventually, or ultimately, was there another one? So in the end, ultimately, eventually, that's just saying basically some time passed and then something happened. There's not really a feeling there, right? We will have our stream today, and eventually we will all go to bed, right? It's just over time, there will be time spent, and then something will happen, right? Or like we will have our stream together and we'll chat, and eventually I will turn off the stream and you will stop watching. And that's fine. There's no feeling there. But then when we use the words finally or at last, if you use finally or at last, there's this feeling of relief. You were uncomfortable and you really, really wanted something to happen. So if you're really frustrated with me, oh, Mr. Kyle is being so annoying today, you could say, I listened to the stream and finally he stopped talking. So if you use the words like finally or at last, it suggests you're happy that something happened after a long time, okay? So in the end, eventually, ultimately, there's not really any feeling. You're just showing that there was some time and then it happened. But finally, at last, you were waiting for it to happen. Please happen. Finally, blah, 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 right? Okay, so let's try our sentences. Our first up, maybe it happens to you. Maybe you're in a meeting at work and your boss keeps going blah, 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 blah forever. And you're sitting there like, oh my gosh. So, 忍了3个小时，我终于可以去上厕所了。Whew, whew. Finally. So you feel so much better because you don't have to wait any longer, right? So here we use finally because you're relieved, you feel better. After holding it in for 3 hours, I can finally go to the restroom. Whew. So if we're talking about you need to go to the bathroom, you can say holding it in. So you hold it in. And you don't need to say what it is. We know what you're talking about. So some of you said, after holding my pee for 3 hours, I can finally go to the restroom. You're not wrong. That's okay. But we wouldn't often say holding my pee because everyone knows what you're talking about. You don't need to say my pee. Just holding it or holding it in for 3 hours. Okay? So holding it in means you, well, yeah, you're holding your pee in your body. But we don't need to be so specific. So holding it in for 3 hours. I can finally go to the restroom. I also saw a few people use the word waiting. After waiting for 3 hours, that's fine too. Okay? And then I said, I can finally go to the restroom. So that's talking about if it's happening now. So I was in the meeting and, oh, geez, I gotta go. I can finally go. We're talking about it's happening right now. But if I'm telling you a story about earlier today, oh, you wouldn't believe it. Today, earlier this morning, blah, 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 blah. You could use past tense. I could finally go to the restroom. Past tense, it already happened. Okay? And so if we put the word finally with the verbs, you would say, I can finally go to the restroom. So finally goes between can and go. So can is called a helping verb or an auxiliary verb, if you know that. And so finally will go between the helping verb and the main verb. I can go, I can finally go. Okay? Usually finally will go in the middle between these. And then some people put finally at the beginning. Finally, comma, I can go to the restroom. That's fine too. Okay? So no big issues there. But I'd say don't say after holding my pee. Say after holding it in. You don't need to say pee, right? Some people might go, ooh, yuck, if you say the word pee. Okay? Next up. Oh, back to Bob and Jenny. Bob saved Jenny. He caught her. Wow, so romantic. And then they got together and maybe they became a couple. But not everything was perfect. Oh no, poor Bob, poor Jenny. Bob 和 Jenny 冷战了3天，最后 Bob 主动向 Jenny 道歉，才和好。Oh, phew, phew. It was dangerous for a second, right? So I would say Bob and Jenny weren't talking to each other for 3 days. In the end, Bob apologized to Jenny and they made up. Okay? Another way to say this would be, instead of saying weren't talking to each other, we can use a more complicated phrase. Bob and Jenny weren't on speaking terms for 3 days. And then in the end, blah, 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 blah. Okay? So they weren't talking to each other, or they weren't on speaking terms. So keep it simple. You can say they weren't talking to each other. Okay? Just sounds like what it is. Bob's not talking to Jenny, Jenny's not talking to Bob. If you say they weren't on speaking terms, maybe this is a phrase meaning that they don't want to speak to each other. Okay? And I would choose these two options. A few students use the phrase, Bob and Jenny gave each other the silent treatment. That's not wrong. It's okay. But usually the silent treatment is one person to the other person. So Bob gave Jenny the silent treatment, or Jenny gave Bob the silent treatment. Usually it's not both ways. Giving the silent treatment, often one person is still trying to talk to the other person. So you don't often give each other the silent treatment. So it's a little bit better if you just say they weren't talking to each other or they weren't on speaking terms. They're both angry, okay? But then, in the end, Bob apologized to Jenny and they made up. So In the end part, I think everyone got, and Bob apologized to Jenny, no problem. But they made up. To make up means they fix their relationship. Everything gets better. And so I would just keep it simple and say they made up. They made up, okay? I saw a couple people say they kissed and made up. And that's okay too. Maybe you heard that song, Kiss and Make Up. But you can use the phrase kiss and make up. But you don't need the word kiss. We don't need to have that full phrase. You could just say they made up, okay? Now, I also saw someone say they have been okay or they are okay. Now, you might think that okay means they're good. Okay sounds like they're just okay. It's not great. When you say okay, you might mean good, but okay just sounds like it's somewhere in the middle. It's not good, it's not bad, it's just okay. So it's actually not great for a relationship. So okay is not a great choice in this sentence because okay sounds like they're still not happy with each other. But if you say they made up, it gets back to being good. Okay? You could also say back to good. There's an old song called Back to Good. And then I also say I saw they are good now. You could say that too. They're good now, meaning their relationship is good. That would be good too. Okay? Let's see. Oh, one other thing. I mentioned they weren't talking to each other. They weren't on speaking terms. They gave each other the silent treatment. Those three are all pretty good. I saw several students use the word Cold War. Now, 冷战, the translation is Cold War. But in English, we do not use Cold War for relationships. They were having a Cold War. Don't use it that way. Now, in Chinese, you can use 冷战 to mean a relationship, but that doesn't work in English. We don't have that phrase. If you say the words Cold War in English, you're talking about history. The Cold War was when the United States and Russia were fighting, but they weren't fighting with real guns and weapons. They were fighting with spies and stuff like that. So if you say the Cold War, people will think about history, Russia versus the United States, okay? But we don't use that for a relationship in English, okay? Keep on going. Our next sentence is about something I like to do, going to the beach, enjoying the weather. So what you can say is 去海边玩要穿泳衣，擦防晒乳，戴着羊帽。最后一项要记得带游泳圈。So a lot of different things you need for the beach. Okay? So in English, I would start this with an if phrase because I don't know if you will go to the beach, so use if. If you go to the beach, you need to wear a bathing suit, put on sunscreen, wear a sun hat, and lastly, remember to bring a swimming tube. Okay. Now, there are many ways to translate this depending on the words that are most common where you want to go. Do you want to American English, British English? Depends on the words you've learned and where you want to travel. So in American English, the way I speak and like my family speaks, I would say, wear a bathing suit, put on sunscreen, wear a sun hat, and lastly, remember to bring a swimming tube. Now, there are many different ways to say all of these things. Now, the first part, I started with an if phrase. If you go to the beach, then blah, 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 okay? Because it's a condition. I don't know if you're going to the beach, okay? And then some of you used something that we'll learn about in the future, using a verb to start the sentence. So some people said to go to the beach, you need blah, 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 blah. Or, oh, that wouldn't be an infinitive, sorry. That's in order to go to the beach. Like, in order to go to the beach, you need to blah, blah, blah. Or to go to the beach, you need to blah, blah, blah. That's okay too. But I think using an if phrase is good because I don't know if you will. So I'm giving you suggestions. Oh, if you go to the beach, you need blah, 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 blah. Okay? So what do you need to do? Wear a bathing suit. A bathing suit, yes, the word bathing sounds like you're in a bath, right? But bathing actually means being in the water. So bathing suit is what I would call that thing you wear to the beach. Wear a bathing suit. You could also say wear a swimsuit. One word, swimsuit. Okay? A few people wrote swimming suit. That's okay too. But first choice for me would be bathing suit, swimsuit. Third choice, swimming suit. Okay? And then the second thing, you need to put on sunscreen. So the verb for sunscreen, we need put on. We don't wear sunscreen. Wear sunscreen. Wear sunscreen? That might be okay, but put on sunscreen is better, okay? I also saw people use the word apply sunscreen. That's fine too. Apply is a little more formal. So I would use put on sunscreen. 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 In sunscreen, it sounds like it is blocking some of the sun. It's a coating that blocks the sun. That's a sunscreen. Now, in America, we use the word sunscreen, meaning it's screening the sun, it's stopping the sun. In England, they use the word sun cream. It's focused on what it looks like. It's a cream, right? Sun cream. Sun cream. In America, we say sunscreen. They sound very similar, right? And then next up is wear a sun hat. You want to wear it, right? You wear a hat. And then lastly, lastly marks the last thing on a list. And we use the word lastly to make the last thing stronger, okay? Wear a bathing suit, put on sunscreen, wear a sun hat. And lastly, I'm emphasizing this last thing. Remember to bring a swimming tube, okay? A swimming tube means a rubber ring that fills up with air and you can sit on it and sit inside of it and play in the water. It's for fun, right? So in American English, where I come from, we would call it a swimming tube or a swim tube. Both are okay. A tube is anything that's hollow and long. So you take that tube, turn it into a circle. That's a swimming tube, okay? And the shape is a ring, so some people will call it a swimming ring, okay? And in England, in British English, the thing is made out of rubber. Well, some of them are made out of rubber. And so in England, they call it a rubber ring. Focus on the rubber ring. But where I come from, it's called a swimming tube. So all of these are okay. Swimming tube, swimming ring, rubber ring. Okay? Now, there was one thing I saw that I'm not trying to, well, whatever. I saw one student say, remember to bring your swimming pool. So just be careful with what you're saying. A swimming pool is the thing in the back behind your house that you swim in. So if you're going to the beach, do not bring your swimming pool. It's too big, too heavy. So the swimming pool is a place you can swim in. You don't want to bring that to the beach. So that was pretty cute. Be careful. 游泳圈 is a swimming tube. Okay? That's okay though. We all make mistakes. But kind of a cute, funny mistake. Okay. Now, our next sentence is 我上半年一直很努力工作，在7月底，我终于可以去度假了。Whew, whew, you're free. So I've worked really hard for the first half of the year. At the end of July, I can finally go on vacation. Yes, you're free. So here, the situation feels like you're in the beginning of the year still. Maybe it's June. And so the first half of the year isn't quite finished yet. So we use the present perfect tense. From then until now, I've worked really hard for the first half of the year. So from then until now. And then at the end of July, I can finally go on vacation. Okay? So I have worked hard or I have been working hard. Both are okay. Okay? Because from then till now. But a few people said I had worked really hard for the first half of the year. And that means in the past. But we're trying to say it started back then but continued till now. So I've worked really hard for the first half of the year. And now we're getting close to that vacation, okay? And remember, the 7th month is July. So be careful, don't mix it up with other summer months, okay? And so at the end of July, this just means the end of the month, maybe the 28th, 29th, whatever, okay? And so you can say, I can finally go on vacation. You could also say, finally, I can go on vacation. So the finally should be at the beginning with a comma or between the helping verb and the main verb. Can finally go. Okay? Now, I also saw a few other ways to write it. You could say, I am finally able to go on vacation. And that's okay too. You could also use, instead of finally, you could use at last. At last means you're waiting for something to happen and whew, you're relieved that it finally happens. Or at last, I can go on vacation at the end of July. So that would be okay too. So many different ways to write the same idea, right? Okay. So let's move on to our final section, which is our dialogue. So the, oh, how dare you? I'm a night owl. I don't want to be in the sunlight. If I'm in the sun, within minutes, I'll be cooked. I'll be sunburned. I need sunscreen every time I leave my house. Is this person a vampire? Whoa. Okay, so let's get started with our translations. Now, here in this, there's a little story of romance and kind of a sad story. It's a long story that's in 3 sentences. So try to imagine what's happening in this story. Okay, so the first sentence is 我总感觉如果错过他，我最后一定会后悔. Oh, so this is the very beginning of the story. A boy sees a girl and he thinks there's a good chance. So this is before they meet and before they get started. And he says, I have a feeling that I'll regret it in the end if I miss my chance with her. So maybe they only have a short time together and he doesn't want to miss his chance, right? You could also say it this way. I have a feeling that if I miss my chance with her, I'll regret it in the end. So you can flip your sentence around, move pieces around. Just use commas, okay? Oh, I'm using my hands too much. Okay? So I have a feeling that is a phrase that you can use to describe, you don't know, but you have a feeling. It might happen, okay? I have a feeling that I'll regret it in the end if I miss my chance with her. He's thinking about asking her out, okay? Now, it would be best to say, I have a feeling that. A few of you added the word always, because in Chinese there's this word 总, 我总感觉, but you don't need the word always here, because always means like your whole life or all the time. But we don't need the word always here because it's talking about this situation, okay? And I said, I'll regret it in the end, or I will regret it in the end. So because we're talking about the future, what might happen. I will regret it in the end. I'm predicting what will happen. I will feel bad about it. I will regret it. A few people wrote the word must. I must regret it in the end. Now, we don't use the word must like that. Must means something you need to do. It has to happen. But here, we're talking about what we think will happen, not something we should do. Must is like a very strong word meaning should. I must do my homework, okay? So must doesn't really work here so much. Will is better. I will regret it because we're predicting what will happen, okay? And we want to say, I'll regret it in the end, meaning at the end of everything that happens. I saw a few people say, I'll regret it at last. But remember, at last is like finally. Finally and at last are used when something is good. Like you feel great that it finally ended, or at last it ended. You feel better because you feel relief. But here, if we're talking about regret, there's no relief. You don't feel good when you have regret. So don't use at last. It's better to use in the end. In the end is just about the timing. It doesn't have that feeling of relief, okay? And then the second part, if I miss my chance with her, I'll regret it in the end. So maybe this boy has a chance to meet this girl. He sees her on the street and he doesn't know her. Maybe he'll never see her again. This is his chance, okay? Or maybe they're students at school and they're going away for the summer and he only has one day left. This is his chance, okay? So miss my chance with her, okay? A few people wrote miss her. We don't really use miss her in that way. To miss someone is they are far away and you miss them. Like 我想念她, I miss her. But here we don't mean it that way, right? To miss someone means like they are far away and I'm remembering the times we had together. But we want to say miss my chance with her, okay? Okay? A few people said if I lose her, that would be okay too. It's similar, you lose her, she goes away, she disappears, okay? So if I lose her, I'll regret it in the end. Oh, so that's before anything happened, the beginning of her romantic story. And then he goes up to her and asks her out and says, hey, do you want to go out on a date? Do you want to get some coffee with me? And ta-da, it works out. They start to get together and it's so lovely. And then he says, oh, we've been dating for 2 weeks and now this is how I feel. 每当看到他的笑容，我都会瞬间融化. Oh, so lovely. Lovey-dovey. Or in Japanese, they say labu labu. So, too lovely. Oh my God. So, this boy says, every time I see her smile, my heart melts instantly. Wow, too amazing. So, in English, you could say I melt, but it's a little more common to say my heart melts, okay? So, you could also say my heart immediately melts in the blink of an eye, okay? Or my heart melts within seconds. So it happens really quickly, okay? So every time I see her, I saw a few people add the word when. Every time when I see her, you don't need the word when here. You could just say every time I see her, okay? Every time is good enough. And we use see in the present tense because it's every time. Present tense is something that happens again and again. Every time I see her. So a few people use the word saw every time I saw her. But that is past tense. Well, if you're telling the story about before, that would be okay. Every time I saw her, my heart melted but that would mean it's over. It doesn't happen again. That's a sad story. But let's say we're in the situation, they're dating. You could say, every time I see her, it happens again and again, my heart melts. Okay? And like I said before, you can say, I melt. Oh, I'm melting. Blah, 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 blah. Okay? And then for 瞬间, in our dialogue, we use the words within minutes, which are similar to 瞬间. Within minutes is similar to 瞬间, but within minutes is a short time, but actually still minutes. But seeing her smile, it's faster than even minutes, right? So in our story, we had, I will get a sunburn within minutes. That means maybe there are a couple minutes, 2 or 3 minutes, and in that short time, I get a sunburn. But here, a smile is even faster than that, right? So you could say instantly, immediately, or within seconds, okay? Or within the blink of an eye. So your eyes blink, and that's super fast. Within the blink of an eye, okay? I saw someone use the phrase within a twinkling. This might be a phrase for in a moment, but it's not very common. I haven't really heard this before, within a twinkling. A more common phrase you could use if you want to sound a little more poetic would be within the blink of an eye. Your eyes blink really quickly, so within the blink of an eye, okay? I also saw someone use just in time, but just in time doesn't work here. That means you're trying to do something before it's too late. So you're not melting before it's too late. So just in time is trying to do something fast. So that doesn't really work here. And then last but not least, so our story is he doesn't want to miss his chance, so he asks her out. And then they're really lovey-dovey. They're so sweet. His heart melts when he sees her smile. And then at the end, he made a mistake. Maybe he didn't care enough about her. He wasn't a good boyfriend, and something bad happens. Oh no. And then they break up. They get in a fight, and she leaves him. It's over. And then he says this. 在我想要好好挽回之前，机会已经流走了. Oh, so they got in a fight and something went wrong, and it's too late. He can't get her back. And so he says, by the time I decided to get her back, that ship had already sailed. So it sounds kind of bad. The girl is a ship. She's a big boat, and she sails away. Oh, bye-bye. That ship had already sailed, okay? Another way to say this, using another phrase from our dialogue, I saw a student use new strategy, so I put this in here. By the time I decided to try a new strategy and get her back, that ship had already sailed. So it's too late. Oh, too bad. Okay, we'll talk about this in a second. Let's answer this question about regret. Do we always need it after regret? I'll regret it in the end. I'll regret in the end. Yeah, usually we want to have the word regret is usually followed by something. What do you regret? I regret something, or I will regret something. And so in this sentence, we have I'll regret it. So if regret is a verb, we usually follow it with an object. Oh, I regret eating a whole pizza. So here, eating is like a noun. So you regret something. So I regret eating that pizza. Or I regret losing my wallet. Oh my gosh, my money's gone. You regret something, okay? And so here we have I'll regret it. What is it? It is missing your chance, okay? So we usually use regret with an object. Regret something. Regret it. Okay? Now, you might be thinking about regret as a noun. Regret can be a thing, an idea, right? And you can say, I have regret. So you can have regret. But if you want to use regret as an action, you regret something, okay? So you need to have an object. In English, there are some verbs. This might be too technical, but some verbs are called transitive and intransitive. That means simply that some verbs have to have an object. Like the word regret must have an object. Regret something. And then if something is intransitive, it doesn't need an object. It could have an object, but it doesn't need it. Okay? So regret is one of those transitive verbs. You need an object. You regret something. Regret it. Okay? Hopefully that helps. So we're back in the past. Let's move back forward. Back to by the time I decided to get her back. We're at the end of the story. She left him. Oh, by the time I decided to get her back, that ship had already sailed. Bye-bye. Oh no. He missed his chance. Okay? So here we use by the time, meaning it's too late. I decided to get her back, but by that time it was already too late. By the time I decided to get her back. Oh, you want to get her back. So a few people use the word get it back, but we're not using, so maybe you were trying to use a set phrase that you learned, get it back, but here that it is a person. You can't use the word it for a person, so get her back. I decided to get her back. Then the last part is that ship had already sailed. Now, that ship had already sailed is actually a pretty common idiom. This phrase is common, and I actually heard it on a radio show like last week. So people use it day by day, talking about there's an opportunity or something was happening and it's too late. It already moved on without you. So that ship has already sailed. Imagine you are going to get on a boat, but the boat already left. The ship sailed away. That means you wanted to do something, but that opportunity already left. It went away. So you can use that ship had already sailed for lots of situations. Okay? In our lesson, we had that ship has sailed, H-A-S. But for this sentence, we need to change it to past tense because it already had sailed. So H-A-D. Okay? So that ship had sailed. You could also keep it simple and say, I had missed my chance, or the opportunity was gone. She left me. It's too late. Oh, so sad. So this lesson, we have this little story. The boy is hopeful. Oh, I don't want to miss my chance with her. I'll regret it in the end. So he goes and asks her out. And then they're all lovey-dovey and it's wonderful. Every time I see her smile, my heart melts instantly. Oh, so lovely. But then they get in a fight, blah, 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 blah. And she leaves him. And he goes, oh, what did I do? I need to get her back. But she says, no, I've moved on. It's over. And so that ship has sailed. That ship had already sailed. Bye-bye. You'll have to find someone new, move on with your life. So kind of a sad story, right? But that's part of life. And hopefully our hero will find a new girl. Okay. So if any of you have any questions, now is your chance. Hopefully you enjoyed this little story about checking out a new apartment. Looking for new apartments is something that we all have to do, right? And it's a little bit difficult. You don't want to be too positive about the place. If you say, wow, everything's great, you'll be too positive. You'll be optimistic to a fault. But then if you're too negative, like in this dialogue, every little thing. We call it nitpicking. You take a little thing and turn it into a big problem. And maybe it's a small problem and you don't need to be so crazy about it, right? So here in this dialogue, we got to see a character who really doesn't like anything about the apartment, even if it has nice lighting and it's really spacious and it has a nice loft. Oh, I have vertigo. Woo! Boom. But so all these crazy things happen. Now, next week, you will see the third personality, our chill personality. And this personality doesn't really like to make things difficult. Just keep it easy. I don't want any trouble. I just want to keep things easy. I don't want to worry about things. So what happens in this situation? Well, our landlord is kind of not a great guy. He's trying to make lots of money from our hero. And so what happens if our hero starts to say, okay, I guess I'll pay for this stuff? Well, you'll find out next week. So next week, we'll see our third personality and how they deal with a landlord who's trying to get lots of money. Okay? And what kinds of strange things does the landlord try to trick him into paying for? So we'll end our stream about here. If you have any more questions, please feel free to send me a question. And in our group for our course, you're welcome to post questions and your thoughts about everything. I'd love to hear from you more often. And I will stick around for a few minutes. So if any of you would like to practice your speaking, I'll be here. And you can tell me what you think about looking for apartments. What's your place like? Do you have a loft? Is it spacious? Is there good lighting? Is there good airflow? You can tell me, okay? So send a message to Kyle Moai if you'd like to chat, and I'll see you next week. So I don't know if any of you are night owls. If you are not a night owl, go get to bed, okay? It's getting late. So I'll see you next time. Have a good evening, and we're almost to the weekend, so happy weekend. Do something fun, okay? Okay, thank you, everybody. I really enjoy doing these, and I hope you enjoy them too. So I'll see you next week. Have a good night.